Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we explore the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Milan Kahoot, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the strategies fueling future growth. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Gary Wayne, the founder and CEO of A1 Solutions International, a company focused on AI-powered marketing, lead generation, compliance, and risk management automation for institutions. With over 40 years of experience as an investment professional and founder of multiple ventures, Gary blends deep industry expertise with innovative technology to help institutions automate and enhance critical business functions. With that being said, Gary, let me officially welcome you to Founders Future.
Thanks very much. It's good to be here, Milan.
We're excited to have we're excited to have you on the podcast, man. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a great conversation. So let's dive right into it. What I love to do with every single one of my guests is a little bit of traveling back in time. So before you even had this company, what were you doing before, and then eventually, what was the motivation for starting the business?
I've been involved in financial markets probably for, well, as you said, 40 years. I started on FX as a kid, became a broker, became an MD running a foreign exchange floor with 200 brokers. Most of it meant obviously sales, marketing, problem solving. I then moved on to financial futures. I was one of the first guys trading on the financial futures exchange. On the life market, LIFFE, Chicago teams, CBOT, CME. I've been involved in derivatives, equities, bonds, cash markets, nearly all my life. I've also done consultancy, and I first ventured into consultancy probably 20 years, which is 20 years ago, which is probably the reason why I'm back involved now. 20 years ago, I tried to get involved in consultancy for SMEs. I saw there was a niche in financial markets for people that needed help, businesses that needed growing, businesses that needed their cost cutting, etc. But at that time, there was no technology, no tools, only manual programs that were quite long-winded, very difficult to get the end result with. And eventually I had to let it go. We were successful. We made reasonable money. We had a good team. I ran a London operation focused on London and the South East. It was part of a bigger organization, but we never could compete with McKinsey's or Deloitte or any of the main people. Simply, we didn't have the teams behind us, and we had never had the tools that could make the difference. Move on 20 years. I've continued in financial markets, running my own fund, trading bonds, equities, but always at the back of my mind thinking about consultancy and moving really out of the stressful nature of trading, where you have positions 24/7 and being awake at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning, with a view to actually helping people learn from the mistakes you've encountered and made yourself, and hopefully putting that 40 years experience to better use than staying up all night trying to trade out of bad positions. So with the advent of AI and technology, I see an opportunity where these tools actually even the playing field between the little guy or the smaller guy and the big players that have the massive teams behind them. We no longer need those massive teams, which means with AI technology, we can actually give a really exceptional service for a fraction of the cost that these big companies do provide. And also, in addition, we can actually offer guarantees because we don't have the overhead, we don't have the big high-flying teams behind us, but we do have the experience and access to knowledge that can solve clients' problems. So that's why I set up A1 Solutions about 9 months ago to a year ago. I have been advising people prior to that and helping people with their businesses within financial services, but not in a uniform format. So AI solutions really created a proper format and landing arena to offer this service in a professional manner on a full-time basis. Um, I'm looking to expand it. I'm looking to move beyond financial services. I do have a couple of clients outside of our arena. The reason I initially focused on financial services was because I believe I know it inside out, and I've made many mistakes that other business users will or could make, and I'd like to help them prevent it.
Yeah, but I feel like that was definitely a smart decision to begin just focusing on the financial industry, considering how much experience you've actually gotten over the years, right? So I feel like that is a perfect blend in terms of your previous experience and also the boom of AI in today's day and age. I mean, come on now. Like if we think about AI, it's literally everywhere at this point. And every single business, it doesn't really matter what kind of industry, we're gonna have to get used to it. So I know there's a lot of people who are still scared about AI, if it is going to replace some people, yada, yada, yada. We've all heard these stories, those questions. Some of them are still unanswered, but to be honest, I just feel like the sooner we can jump on that train and literally implement it and make sure that it can make us more productive and be a legitimate part of the business, the better, right? So, beautiful journey, man. Obviously, so many years spent in the industry. Now, talking about that, let's talk a little bit more about where this journey overall got you and what the business really looks like today. So, what I'm trying to do in this part of the podcast is make sure that we bring the listeners as close as possible to, well, first of all, who it is exactly that you're trying to help. So you can maybe even dive a little bit deeper into expanding to other target groups. But also, what is that core offer that you have in place? What is the frequency of working with you? What is the process like? Just tell us all about it.
I know everybody's open to it because people don't like what they think is an intrusion, but
Yeah.
I find that the US and wider arena outside of the UK is more open and more on board with AI than the UK. But what we do is we are trying to help people cut their overhead on the processing side and increase their profitability and client visibility on the upside. So hopefully at the end of the day, and I did a plan last week for an American guy where we actually managed to cut his overhead by 20% and increase his profitability by getting more clients on the upside. Now, how we do that is obviously we find a way of accessing the client. I do podcasts and lots of different things to try and get their attention. Cold calling doesn't get you anywhere nowadays. So, there has to be something that's of interest. And obviously offering up free marketing or something that, the client can gain an immediate upside on is what is attractive. But once we get to know the client, we do what we call a discovery call. The discovery call, pretty standard probably format in the industry, but we do a deep dive into the company and the business, how it operates. We go back to the origins on obviously how it formed, how it built, type of turnover, how it's made money or not made money, the roadblocks it faces, pain points, the good points, the bad points. And we also do an AI audit. Then we look at what the next 90-day goal is. We look at what the next 12-month goal is and what the 24-month goal is. We look for a 90-day goal simply because we try to provide a 90-day guarantee on what we deliver in the first, obviously, 90 days. And by doing that, the guarantee hopefully will offer them an ROI that more than covers their initial investment in us, and obviously an opportunity to sample in that 90 days what we're capable of before we actually move out to the 12 months and 24 months if we stay around that long. Also, within that guarantee, we promise if we don't make the deliverables in that time period, we work for free until it's achieved. So what we're trying to create is a no-brainer for the client. We want them to feel confident that the only success we will have is if we bring them success.
Mhm.
So that's basically how we operate. That's how we approach it. And then obviously, once the client's onboarded and we're moving forward, we hope to tweak that plan ongoing, whether it be weekly, monthly, etc., whatever's needed. AI is very early on. We use AI, but we obviously have to use our own business acumen. AI has to be trained. AI has to be managed. It's not something you can plug in or write and leave to get on. AI has a habit of trying to do what it wants to do.
Yeah.
At the moment, AI needs technicians and people like us to continuously train it, which means we take the strain and that worry away from the client so they can get on with the business.
You do all the heavy lifting, it sounds like, which is brilliant, though. Now, when it comes to the clientele, obviously it varies from case to case. Everybody's company is a little bit different scenarios, so I get that. Now, looking retrospectively in at the last year and the way you work with your clients, what would you say is like the average amount of time that they actually stick with you and work with you?
Well, bearing in mind I'm quite new, I could tell you that they stick with me for 12 months because that's how long I've been going. As I am now. Um, I think well, once you get a client on board, you won't lose them unless you don't deliver. Um,
Sure.
it's our job to stay on top of it and keep delivering, just like in any business. If we're not ahead of a game, you're only as good as your last trade. So if you fail on your last trade, you're easily dismissed. So it's something just we have to keep on top of. But I think once you've got a relationship with clients and you can talk openly and discuss any issues that come up and deal with the issues before they become a problem, there's no reason why you'll lose your clients. You asked me earlier who are the clients I deal with. Well, I talk about financial services, but I deal with an array of clients around that circle. So I deal with M&A consultants. I deal with people that maybe are in the insurance industry, brokers. So when I talk about finance, I'm talking about pure finance, which could be family offices, hedge funds, broker dealers, etc. It could be insurance brokers, mortgage brokers. It can be M&A consultants, anybody within that type of arena that wants to grow their business.
Mhm.
But as I say, I also took on a clinical research company in Texas recently,
Wow.
and they want to manage their data, they want to manage the research data, and they want to get more clients. So the business can be very varied. But at the end of the day, the tools are pretty much the same for everything. So yeah, it helps to have expertise in an area because you can actually give value added. But with the AI audit and the AI tools, you can certainly look after nearly every business. Startups are a problem because they don't have any capital and they don't normally want to invest. You do need to talk to people that have got some capital to fund. I am working with a couple of startups. I do try to make it economic. We don't look for hefty upfront fees. We try to do it, as I said, on an ROI basis. So we normally look to take a share of revenue. So if we create X, Y, Z, we get a share of that. If we don't create it, we don't really earn proper money.
Absolutely. I like the natural flow that you basically took when it comes to creating these offers and also expanding into other target audiences, right? So you basically created an MVP just focusing on the financial industry, but now you know, and you have like, you know, you're very confident in the ability to serve many more industries, many different types of businesses. So it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be great for the company. Now, specifically talking about this, you said it yourself. Obviously, this whole process starts by you having the ability to get in front of the right audience and actually get the client in the first place, right? So I want to touch a little bit more on that and really talk about the back end side of the business. Obviously, having a good client acquisition system in place, that's one of the biggest questions that everybody in business has to ask themselves. So what is it that you currently do on the front of marketing or maybe lead generation specifically apart from those podcasts, as you mentioned, to make all of this happen?
Well, getting clients, isn't always easy. Obviously, everyone uses LinkedIn outreach, but I have a system that actually works 24/7 on LinkedIn outreach. So, you're actually making connections all the time, and then it's personalizing that approach and talking to people on a one-to-one capacity, see how you can help them if they've got any problems. The podcasts are a great tool. I use them all day long, and they take up a large amount of my time. As you might have noticed yourself, everybody loves to be on a podcast. Everybody loves to publicize what they do and who they are, get their face out there. And I'm getting 12 to 13 calls a day on that alone. It's a great tool for me. It's a great tool for my clients
Wow.
to
Yeah.
market. Outside of that, you can use things like free websites, free analysis, free AI audits, interviews, um, lots of different things where you bring an immediate benefit without cost to the potential client before he even gets into talking business with you.
Hmm.
So that's our approach. Something free, something easy, something where we can show our ability, something where we can show we understand the client's needs, something where there's no pressure. What people hate is being sold to.
Yeah, 100%. I love the approach of like value-based relationship building, but also I gotta say, especially when it comes to your industry and with AI still being something new, I think you also mentioned this at the very beginning of the podcast. A big part of what you do is actually just working with those people's mindsets and the way they actually perceive AI and how much it can be beneficial, how much of a threat it could be potentially, right? So, when it comes to this, education is definitely going to be a huge part of it. So, I do believe that creating a ton of content, writing articles, shooting videos, that's going to be a big part of what you do. But also, I want to ask you something else. When it comes to organic traffic, basically everything that you've mentioned is on the side of organic, right? So when we talk about organic, there is a lot of frustration typically when it comes to the inconsistency of those sources, right? Especially if you end up thinking about like word of mouth, getting referrals from your clients, there's no doubt that this is like the best type of lead that you could possibly get. But you can have a good month, you can have a strain of bad months, and nobody's coming into the pipeline, right? So when it comes to really creating something more scalable and predictable in the first place, what I'm curious about is have you also dabbled into paid advertisement on social media, different platforms, or what is your perspective on that side of everything?
Um, I think it's good, but I think it's very expensive. It's something I dabble in, but I don't use a lot because it eats up a lot of resource and a lot of money. It's like a lot of things. People just take examples on how these platforms cost. Meta is extremely expensive to advertise on. Um, you know, Facebook, obviously Meta, LinkedIn is pretty good, but they take up a lot of time, and you need a lot of hits to actually make that money work. I actually prefer not to advertise. I prefer to create partnerships. So I have a couple of partnerships with people, companies that are doing similar things to me, but have obviously an abundance of clients and they're marketing themselves as well. But they do things from fundraising to marketing to helping scale, advising and coaching. So I partner with a couple of companies like that where I, can mentor people, can coach them, help them raise funds. And then out the back of that, you get this business I'm in anyway, coming through to you as I get to that stage. I think fundraising is very, very important, especially for startups finding seed capital. The partners I have are able to help with that, and I do that with them. Mentoring, coaching is also very important.
Mhm.
Different type of service, but it's a good intro into getting long-term customers when you reach the end of that mentoring or coaching, or it could overlap and coincide.
1000%, man. Creating those strategic partnership is definitely one of the best ways to make sure that even if your own sources are maybe lacking for a certain period of time, you can actually outsource it from somebody else and make sure that there's still something happening. Talking about relationships, though, also one thing that I wanted to dive deeper into is your teams. This is something that I'm very curious about, though. But obviously, you are in the growth stage. You are trying to build something bigger, something even more impactful, um, compared to what you've already achieved. So, when it comes to building those teams, what is the structure? Have you already built out the teams when it comes to marketing activities, sales, fulfillment, or what is going on that front?
Well, I have a couple of people who assist me in all the media and obviously all the blogs and postings and on YouTube, etc. Yeah, that is the bulk of obviously the so-called marketing, along with things that I'm doing like podcasts and interviews. Remember, I've got a team working 24/7 on making new contacts and things like that. So I've got about 4 or 5 people working behind the scenes helping me out. Then I've got technicians in the US, India, Pakistan, and Philippines, and a couple in the UK that help me build out and do the coding for the AI implementation.
Love it. Love it.
But most of them are contract basis. I don't pay them daily or hourly or monthly. I pay them per job. And they, once they've started the job, they stay on with the job and help me maintain the systems. So there's ongoing 24/7 care.
hmm So people on the fulfillment side, also folks helping with the marketing activities. Now, when it comes to specifically converting that lead into a paying client, are you still the one who's taking those closing calls and making sure that the deals come through, or how have you figured that part out?
Yeah, at the moment I'm still doing that because I actually want to get to know all my clients. And I don't need hundreds of clients, to be successful. Um, As we progress, I'd like to build out the team and have some associates working with me doing what I'm doing. And then maybe I'll take a step back and just do relationship management.
hmm
But this is still a relatively new business. And at the moment, I like to be hands-on.
Absolutely. I want to build on top of that though, because specifically looking at your situation right now, this being a new business, you having that time to invest in those closing calls, yada, yada, yada. Um, Sooner or later, it's going to come to that point where you definitely do need to take a step back and really focus on what really matters and how to actually build out the project further. So, what we end up talking about on the podcast most of the time is the ability to delegate and really give the reins away, trust somebody enough to come into the company and take some responsibilities off of you. So, when you think about delegation, though, is there anything specific that you might provide in terms of our listeners, maybe somebody who is in a position where they feel like they might need to do something like that, but they're not really sure if they're ready or there is something stopping them? What is your perspective on delegation? When is a good time? Anything that comes to your mind, just share it with us.
I just think, a good boss or a good manager of a company should surround himself with people who are a lot smarter than him. So my plan long term is to do that. Um, Surround myself with clever people that are cleverer than I, where I can learn from and work with. I think it's essential to delegate, and it's at the top of my list.
As easy as that, man. 100% agreed. Now, when it comes to all of this happening, obviously, you're setting some goals for what the company is going to look like in the next 12 months, 24 months. So let's talk a little bit about those short-term goals and really what's going to happen next year. And Gary, when you think about that, what would you say realistically are the biggest goals for you? Targets, revenue, milestones, whatever comes to your mind.
I think the main target is to get quality clients. There's a lot of when you're marketing, you don't know what, even though you do your due diligence before you reach out. A lot of people obviously all took a good book, so it's very hard sometimes to drill down on what they're really about. So there is a lot of time wasted on dealing with people that actually don't even really want your service. They just want a free podcast or something else. So, my target initially is to get, some medium-sized to larger companies on board on an ongoing basis. I'd like to have 20 of these, turning over a few £1 million. They're at the stage where they're not too big to have an internal department. So they still need someone like me, but they're not too small that they can't afford the service. I want to extend my services to include fundraising, mentorship, etc., not just AI, automation, and marketing.
Gotcha. When you talk
So
about
I'd like
consulting
to
and
be
memberships,
eventually a
yeah,
one-stop shop.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
a commercial brokerage, as well as and fundraising for funds, etc. Which I talk to a lot of funds, news funds as well. Biggest problem they have is getting launched, getting enough money to actually trade, even though they have a great tool. They can't always prove it enough because they can't raise the funds, and they don't know where to raise the funds, or don't have the time to raise the funds because they're too busy creating the tool to make the money.
Mhm.
So I want to get a lot more involved in stuff like that.
Beautiful. Now, when you think about hitting all those goals and obviously growing, scaling further, out of everything, what would you say is going to be the biggest challenge to make it happen?
The only challenge any people like us have is finding the right clients. And that's the only challenge of any business. I think there's plenty of resource out there, plenty of talent that you can plug into. Nowadays, the world has got smaller. Nowadays we work remotely. You can, there's so much talent out there, whether it be in Europe or America or India or any of these other places. But you're never short of the opportunity to find skill and talent. The biggest and hardest thing is finding people that want to believe in you.
Very true. When you think about that, what would you say is going to be like a more specific strategy in terms of battling that going forward?
Just ongoing, offering genuine advice and showing that you're sincere and honourable.
Love it. Gary, let me ask you one last question before we wrap it up, and this is one of my favorite ever. So, considering you've been in business for decades now, if you could travel back in time and speak to your younger self as an entrepreneur, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Don't chase money. Chase chase success in what you do. Chase being professional in what you do and creating a fantastic business or career, but don't chase money. Chasing money is your short-term goal and doesn't lead to long-term success.
Mm. It's going to come as a side effect of everything that you do, right? So,
Well, people when they're young get greedy. They chase the best offer, the best deal. And 9 times out of 10, if they would have stayed where they were or concentrated on what they were doing, they would have done a lot better in the long run. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
yeah. Well, Gary, I appreciate you leaving us with a little bit of wisdom here, and that was beautiful. And I also want to thank you for your time today, sharing the story with me and the entire audience. It was a great conversation, so it was a pleasure to have you on the podcast. If anybody from the listeners wanted to get in touch, reach out, maybe even work with you, what is the best way to go about that?
Well, they can find me obviously on LinkedIn under Gary Wayne. They can also find A1 Solutions on there. A1 Solutions is also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, so obviously accessible there. They can look at my website, which is www.A1 Solutions International with INTL on the end, not international as a whole word, .com. Or they can email me, Gary at A1 Solutions International, INTL again.com. I'm available all the time. There's a phone number on the website. There's contact details on LinkedIn. I'm here to do business. I'm here to work with people. And I'm available 24/7.
Beautiful. So one more time, people look for Gary Wayne with A1 Solutions.
That's
Thanks
correct.
again, Gary. Now, to our listeners, if today's conversation inspired you as well, make sure to subscribe to Founders Future on your favorite platform. And also, if you're a business owner, more specifically a coach, consultant, or you have an agency, and you're trying to scale the business and really enhance both your sales and marketing efforts, also visit closers.io, get in touch with our team, and discover how exactly we scaled our company from 0 to over 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on crushing it, and I'll see you on the next one.